Today is December 17th, 2025. Restoration has not occurred yet, but more missions every day. And it is midnight, so I gotta record this now because I'm supposed to be going to bed. So I just wrote some things down that happened today, and I'm going to try to do this one quickly. It is the 17th, which is a special day. We're supposed to be restored before the end of the year. It's not very much time. And maybe not everything, but certain things, or at least the beginning of restoration. So, one thing I heard, when that couple who seemed like the man seemed very nice, and they dropped me off at my house. They mentioned that my street used to be a one-way, and it actually did not go to the side of town that the soup kitchen and the churches are at. It actually went the other way. So they said this was just changed like a couple years ago, or like 3 years ago or something. I don't know. They said like a couple years ago. So then I said it must have been right before I bought this house. This is another amazing thing that the city did. So when Trump became president, then they had some initiatives and government programs, and these are things that needed to happen for certain people, for God's believers and God's remnant. And in my case, God prepared a place for me. Now, I don't know, I keep hearing that we have to move again, so I guess this is possible. I never did get to enjoy this house, and I did want to stay here, but, this is better than my old house, so I guess if I have to move, then it'll be better than here. It's just like that's kind of disappointing. But I guess if I had to move, then I could keep this and turn it into a museum. It's actually a historical landmark, so I guess I could still fix the house how I wanted, and instead of putting in a couch and a bed, just make it a museum. maybe I could do that. But anyways, it still would be my property. I believe I would keep this, even if I don't live here. Well, anyways, make sure it's the 17th. Well, now it's the 18th, but it was the 17th. So, yeah, that's another thing. They just redid a lot of the sidewalks. My street was a one-way going the wrong way, and then that was fixed. The property next to mine was tore down and added to my current property, and then there was a wood privacy, 6-foot-tall privacy fence installed around it. They put in a new indoor water park. They changed the city logo just like a couple years ago too, and so it looks a lot nicer. I think this is all just crazy. There's more too. I can't even remember what all they have done in my town. Oh, they redid like some of the city center and stuff. They put in an amphitheater in a downtown area, and they also made like the downtown area so that you can buy alcohol, like you can buy a beer and walk around and drink it like you can in Las Vegas. Like all of this stuff was done right before I moved here. Oh, and another thing, this is a railroad. This is a train town. So another thing that was done is that they put in underpasses so that you didn't get stuck at a train. You could just go down the next block and go underneath. And I believe there's more, but apparently there wasn't much of a downtown, and so they put all that in, and they even let you walk around and drink alcohol. Like, I don't have money to do that now, but and I wasn't a drinker, but I might like to buy a beer and walk around, Maybe I would. So, when I found out that the street that my house is on was a one-way, and that was changed, like, this is totally God. That might be one reason that it wasn't purchased before. And also, when it was listed for sale, it didn't say it was a historical landmark. So, there were so many reasons that God saved this house for me. It had to be the way it was. Like, the neighboring property was being held by people that did not want to sell, but they didn't pay the taxes, and they hoard. Apparently, from the rumors, the people that owned the property that's now my yard were like hoarders, did not maintain the house, and then somebody wanted to buy it from them, and they refused. and so they lost it for not paying the taxes. Trump came into office, and they made this new government program to like get rid of dilapidated buildings. And the first ones they tore down was in my yard. So it's like, I wonder if any of this is real. Is anything real at all? Like the series of events that had to take place for me to get this perfect house here that is now ruined, but to get this perfect property that has a little historical landmark symbol, which is like a castle turret, like, or the tower, where you can attack from, but they can't attack you. So like that is a symbol that is over my property. And it's kind of neat. And then having to do with the significant landmark symbol on my property has something to do with playing guitar. And so then I had the guitar after I moved here at some point. Then I got it fixed. Like after going to the gospel tent, I got a top string fixed on each guitar, and then I started playing it. So this is not okay. Let me just cover the news real quick. So, I was going to the soup kitchen for my lunch, and that starts at 11:30, so I was going really quick, and I was like a couple minutes late. Or, no, wait, what? I wasn't late. So it starts at 11:30, and then, I actually was looking for something that sold that I didn't have again in my shed. I guess God wants me to never have a store again. Because this, and I said that's fine, but like, I don't need negative feedback and disappointed people. In the meanwhile, can this not happen? I don't know. This is all that happens. And I showed up, and I think there was like 20 seconds or something until 11:30 as I was walking in. And then I'm going towards the front door, and I see one of the guys who's in the office, so I don't know if he's like a manager here. And then he was walking in front of the door. I saw him, because the doors are clear, like you can see through the windows on the door. And I saw him walk past as I'm going towards the door. And so I went in, and then I went to sit down. And this time, like, I wasn't sitting in the back behind a bunch of people. I thought about going and get some tissues, but actually there was people over there kind of in the way, and it would have been rude. They were going to watch the sermon. So I actually went, like, towards the front, towards where he was. And then I kind of sat, like, right in front of him. So I ditched a bunch of people, I guess. Not that it matters. But then I watched it. And then he has good sermons, actually. They are better than what I've heard in church. But then when he was speaking for a few minutes, then all of a sudden I just sneezed. This is something that happens when I go in there. It might be witchcraft, too. I know my sinuses have been running and stuff. But I don't normally sneeze. Like, if I do, it's not that often. But for some reason, in the soup kitchen, I often sneeze. So I think maybe this is a witchcraft attack. And they also probably put stuff, I know they put something in my food, so that might have made me a little sick. But, so, there were enemies that puts poison or something, like a potion. I say potion, it's silly, but yeah, medication is sorcery too. They put something, I think it was the anxiety spell, like potion, into my food. And then people messing with it other times. They probably did something that made me a little sick. And then he was speaking, and it was a good message, actually, but I sneezed. And then I had to blow my nose real bad, but I was like, waited a minute. I waited because I didn't want to, because it was going to be loud. And I was sitting like, less than 10 feet away from him, and I didn't want to disrupt his sermon too much. Maybe I blew it a little bit, but I still had to blow my nose, so, this time when I sat down, there was more people there, so I was close to other people. I didn't try to go off in a corner. There was no corner unless I just stood there, so... Anyways, the verse that was covered in the sermon was Deuteronomy. I think this is it, unless they put a different one on later. Because I actually wrote this for the dinner service. So this is lunch service. Deuteronomy 31:6. And this was like how God is always with you. Might feel like, and he said, like, if you feel like you're the only one, God is with you. And it was about the Israelites going into the promised land. So for the restoration, the Israelites, the chosen ones, going into the promised land, and God is with them, even if it doesn't feel like it. So there was more, but I just thought that was good. This is another Old Testament, which means it is from God. Um, Now, there are things that are omitted from these stories that make people angry with God. The Old Testament is good. They remove certain information that you need to understand, is that God wasn't just murdering 90% of the people in the world. The devil had made genetic hybrids that were so wicked and evil, they only thought of evil continuously. They would cannibalize and eat the humans. Actually, they were growing into giants, and there wasn't enough food to feed them. They were eating humans. Like, they were torturing, raping, all these horrible things. Um, and they did not have empathy. So they're like narcissists, but they were in monster bodies. And so God said to wipe them all out because they were genetically impure. Now we hope that they can repent, but it might not be possible. That's not up to me. That's up to God. So I'm thinking if they make the logical choice to go through the motions, then God can change their hearts. God can change their hearts, but they have to choose and start doing right first. This information is in the Quran. This is not in the Bible. In case you don't know, God did tell me the Quran is divinely inspired. So, God showed me, inspired me, that the Quran was from Him. It was not a fake book from the devil. And so there are answers in that. Now, Shias and Sunnis do not follow this, and they don't worship in the correct way. So that's what I'm saying. But this book will answer many questions that Christians have, actually. And there are lies and things taught in Christian churches. They are actually clarified and confirmed. So you get the truth in the Quran of the matter. Things that the Christians read, things they hear conflicting like accounts. They hear, and I'm not saying that there necessarily is something that is wrong, but like maybe they don't really understand the meaning of a verse, or they think something is a rule, but it's really not. Like everything is clarified in the Quran. So, oh my gosh, what am I talking about here? I forget. I forget what I'm talking about. It's after midnight now. I should have made this earlier. Okay, but anyways, the mini sermon today was about the Israelites entering the promised land, and God is with them, and not to, I think it was not to be afraid or anything, or not to, I can't remember. Oh man. Cause God's there. Like, you don't have anything to worry about. So my camera seems to be pointing down a little. I gotta fix. This is bugging me. Okay, yeah, I think that's better. I was like hunching over. I was like going like this. Let's see. So as I was walking up the steps towards the door, I saw the, I don't know if he's a manager or something, at the soup kitchen walk right across. And then I went in. I actually went and sat like right in front of the podium where he speaks. And there'd be a couple seats back. So I did kind of guess ditch people. You normally get up and go into line. So I guess I didn't want to be at the end of the line. But I didn't go all the way to the front either. I sat in front of this man that I believe works there. Now, he did mention, he mentioned something else good. It's like, you don't need to repent. You do, but I'm saying it's like, to reach out to God. Like, so when you want to become a believer, you come to God as you are. You don't need to do anything first. This is a good message. That's true. No, you do later. You do later. So, but anyways, what he said was true. Is that you don't have to be sinless. You don't have to be perfect. You can be. You can be. You can be dirty, and you can be doing a lot of things wrong, and then you can call out to God. And that's true, and that was a good message. And this is a good message for the people he's speaking to. And he did not say that you don't have to repent later. He didn't say. He said when when you want to join the right team or something. I don't remember what he said. I'm just trying to like explain this properly. But then he mentioned something about the blood of Jesus again. This is the first time I heard him mention that. Normally he doesn't. And this is a misunderstanding of what that means. Is Jesus slitting his wrist and his blood coming out does not save anyone from hell. Does not save anyone from hell. If you ask Jesus for help, Jesus will help you. If you're in the spirit realm, but you're still alive and stuff, and, there are demons chasing you and stuff, you can call on Jesus, and Jesus will save you. But what Jesus cannot do is save you from going to hell. Jesus cannot make you go to heaven. Jesus cannot send you to heaven, and Jesus cannot rescue you from hell. Now, this is something I'm trying to explain, is a lot of times people see visions, or they'll have an NDE, and they call on Jesus, and Jesus pulls them out. But they're not dead yet. Or they die and they come back. So they were in the spirit realm, but their time wasn't up. They were supposed to be sent back. That was a wake-up call. But they still have to make changes in their life and repent. Because, Jesus would want all of us to repent to go to heaven. But not everyone does. And so it's not up to him, because that's up to God. And the thing is, that's the way it has to be. Because if a soul will not repent, then there is no heaven. It's just earth again. So, I could get into this a little more, but it's not what this is about. So there was a little bit incorrect at the end, but he always has a good message, and he's saying stuff that's easy to understand and trying to inspire these people here. So I do appreciate his messages. He's doing a good job. But he doesn't understand what the blood of Jesus is. And it's something that I just thought was pagan devil worship, like Satanism, but actually the blood of Jesus is something else. The blood of Jesus is something else. It actually is not physical blood, it is his bloodline. Anyways, so I sneezed when he was speaking. He only spoke for 5 minutes. And I had a big sneeze, I leaned over, so I sneezed on the floor. And then I maybe blew my nose a little. And then when he was done, and then we stand up and we get in line to eat. And then there was a guy kind of a seat behind me, but then a seat, so he was a row closer, but then he was behind me. So we were on tables like this. And so then he got up real quick to get in front of me, and he was making a scene. I think this is the man who said he was a cluster B before with no empathy. And so, and I did mention some things to him. So, he did ask me a question. I mentioned something to him before. But this time, he's like, oh. And then he, hurried and got in front of me. He didn't want to be behind me. And, it's because I sneezed. But that's not, the way he behaved was so childish, though. And so people are standing in line. And he's like, and then I get my tissue out. I grab some napkins, and I got a little reusable bag I take with me to put leftovers or anything in. And sometimes I'll have a fruit or something. If I take it with me, I put it in that bag. And so I had tissues in there, I pull one out, and I blow my nose real loud. And he's like, oh, nasty. He's being real loud, and he turns around, and he gives me looks, and he's like, some people here are so nasty. Go in the bathroom and do that. And then he turns around and he gives me a look, and so then I just I ignored him for a minute, and then I just looked at him, and then he kept going and ranting, and then I'm because this training on my bicycle of people causing trouble, people in vehicles trying to run me off the road, or they zip right past me in a way that is very unsafe. If I don't know that I would really be triggered by this. I don't think so. But I think I'm handling it better now, since cars almost run me over most days. Since cars almost run me over, then this doesn't bother me as much. And I just kind of stood there and kind of ignored it a little bit, and then I just looked at him, and he's like, oh, nasty. Some people are just nasty. And this was the cluster B, so maybe a self-aware narcissist. and then he turned and he looked at me. He's like, nasty. And then I looked at him and I'm like, and then he kept raining and I'm like, like that. And then I just stood there and I ignored it. And then like, he like high-fived a couple people. He's like, yeah, high five. Because see, they were trying to get me, okay? But the funny thing is he high-fived a few people there. Maybe like three or four or something. I don't know. I think maybe three people. But then there was more people that I guess because God showed me in the spirit, at least maybe they physically look this way too, and they were like what's wrong with this guy? They're like that's not right. So I could see there was just as many people that did not like this behavior, and they were like backing away from him, like oh. So, so now people are not going to want to really associate as much with him, I think. Um, so that was nice to see, actually. I don't know if that's how they look to everyone else or if that's just how it looks to me. I don't know. There are people and they were like, why are you talking like that? Like, or they were just kind of like disappointed and they turned away and they didn't like it. And so that was a good thing. So then, I asked God to use me. God used me this way. As soon as I sat down, I sneezed. I sneezed. And then I really had to blow my nose. I turned away. I try not to blow my nose on people. I don't I don't touch people and stuff. But this is not a place where you can go in the bathroom either. It's a small bathroom with two stalls. And normally there's people in there. And I think someone was like throwing up and they're getting sick. And it's last night. It's not clean. Like it's not. I'm not going to go in there. And this is a place where a lot of addicts go. So the bathroom is not a place I want to go to blow my nose. I will get more sick. But anyways, it was also time to get in line and get the food, and so then I would have been the very end of the line. And I just didn't even really think about it, honestly, because I try to sneeze facing the floor. And I try to blow my nose face, like I turn away from people, so, and maybe it is a little gross. But consider, this is the soup kitchen, where there are people there that maybe never bathe, they haven't had a bath in months, or a very long time, and their fingernails are black. And they're on drugs, so they're not paying attention on how to wipe their asses correctly. They are walking around, and this is like, and I don't go up to them and say nasty, and no one else does either. Like this actually is nasty when it smells so bad, but people aren't going up to them and saying nasty. They don't. So this was done to me as a targeted attack. And it wasn't because I smelled like urine or anything. It was because I sneezed and then I had to blow my nose. So, and these are like the napkins they give out. So, so anyways, like he was being really rude. He kept saying nasty. Some people are just nasty in the line, which is against the rules. But I just stood there. Because if I went and tattled, I would look like a loser. I actually looked pretty tough, I guess, because I just didn't care. And then, like, I tried to ignore it, but then I didn't, like, really move or anything. But then I just kind of looked at him in the eye. I just kind of looked at him, like, with a straight face. And then I looked away. And then he looked at me, and I looked at him again. And then I'm like... like that, because you got to acknowledge it. If you completely ignore it, then you're also a loser. So how do you react to this in a way that you don't give your power away and it doesn't look like you lose, but you're also calm and control, like de-escalating? So I think and this, God probably inspired this, so I think that was a win. And maybe this is an example for people, because if someone offends them, how do I react? And so a lot of people saw this, and a lot of people saw how I reacted and how it actually looked like I won. So the example is this person is being very rude and offensive, whether it's warranted or not. And so then I just stood there like I didn't care, and then instead of just ignoring it like a weakling, I ignored it a little bit until it continued. And at that point, I just looked into his eyes with like this type of expression. Look, this looks sad. I was just like a normal look, and then I looked away, and then he kept going, and then I looked at him again, and then at that point I'm like, and I had a tissue. I'm like that, and then a lot of people saw this, and then I just stood in line. I didn't get out of line. I didn't go yell. And then I got my food, and a lot of people like they saw this and they didn't like it. They were turning away from this guy, and then some people he did high five. So they're gonna see like this. It's the spirits operating through these people, and so maybe God has sent me in as an example. I don't know because there aren't many normal people. Like there's some behind the glass, but in terms of people sitting with them and also getting the food. So like I'm on the other side. I'm with them. So it's different than just being a volunteer that comes in. And the volunteers I don't think normally get targeted because they are giving out the free stuff. Um, So then, like, I was eating, and when I was, like, pretty much done with my food, then another man came up to me, and he introduced himself, and he said, no, and I like, and, I think I like you, I don't know if he said I've been watching you, or he said, I like you, because I like how you keep to yourself, and you don't bother anybody, you don't cause, like, something like, I don't cause any trouble, you just sitting here, you just come in by yourself, and you don't cause any trouble, you don't bother anybody, and I like that, and I'm like, yeah, thank you, and he told me his name, and I told him my name. He was asking me if you want to hang out, do I smoke some marijuana, and I said no, I don't do that. And I don't have a phone, and then he wanted me to watch a movie, and I said, no, I'll be here, but there's several guys trying to go on a date with me, so at the soup kitchen. And then he had left. He was going to leave anyway, so I made it clear. Like I was being polite, and I said, "Oh, thank you." And he told me his name. I told him my name. He wanted to know. Oh, he wanted to know where I lived, and I told him about, but not the exact location. Again, I told him about where I live. So, but I didn't tell him exactly where I live. And I'm not going to. I might. They could find it out, like if they networked. Because, like, the last church I went to was, they had religious spirits. They had evil spirits running, and they have my card that has my address and my age and everything on it. And, and it said single on it, so that's why when I went, And anyways, that's not the only reason. Maybe they read it real quick, and that's why they tried a few things. Because they do ask, your marital status. Are you single or, dating or I don't know if it's dating. And so maybe that's why they might try something. And, let's see. But, he was being nice. He didn't say anything like a date, but it obviously was. He wanted to hang out, watch a movie, see if he could, but actually what he said in the beginning was respectful. He says, like, I like how, he liked that I just came in, didn't bother anybody, just sat by myself, and I didn't need a group of people, and I didn't need to go start any fights. And this is something a lot of people can do. A lot of people can. But, if you are an addict, if you're an alcoholic, or, if you have a lot of childhood trauma, it's hard for these people. Let's see. And then there's the other man there that I did speak to, like, for the Thanksgiving thing, who was, like, partially recovered. He's still, like, an addict, but he's gotten a lot better, and he has a good spirit, I can tell. And then he'll, like, wave at me and say hello or whatever, and, he asks how I'm doing. Oh, he mentioned something. Okay, so this is kind of... I normally park my bike on the end, because the way my bike is, I don't want to necessarily, like, put the lock on the wheel in case somebody took the wheel off. I know this sounds dumb, maybe I shouldn't bother. But I normally park it on the end, it fits better. But this time, there was another bike on the end, so I had to put it in the middle, and it was kind of weird to get it in there, and I didn't want to, like, put too much pressure on my brake lines and my gear lines, so I got it in there finally. It took a while. And, it took like a minute or something to get it on there just right. And it was kind of next to somebody else's bike. And so when it was time to go, I had to get in between the bikes to unlock it. And so, I, like, squished past someone else's bike. And, I'm thinking, as long as it's, I was not thinking as long as I thought maybe, I hope it's not this guy's bike, because that guy likes me and he's nice. And so, like, me squishing past his bike is probably not, you don't want to see that, when it's your bike. But, like, kind of like the back of my coat would have rubbed on the seat or something. You know what I'm saying. but I got in there and I was getting my bike lock off, and then I turned, and this was a pretty cool looking bike. And then I see it's that guy who's nice, and he was a little concerned that I was like right next to his bike, and I got my lock, and he likes me. He's a nice guy, and I said, "Oh, that's your bike. That's a nice bike," and you know, and then he asked how I was doing, and I said, my nose has been running nonstop. My nose has been running. I don't think I'm sick, but my sinuses, and he said it's probably or not probably, it must be, or something like it's the changing seasons. The changing seasons. This is how God speaks to us too. The changing seasons. Like restoration season that was already supposed to be here but still isn't here. That's why my nose is running. And yeah, someone put stuff in my food too. But he said, oh, it could be the changing seasons. Or the changing seasons, or probably it wasn't must and it wasn't probably. It was just like matter of fact because of the changing seasons. And so I recognize that as like God speaking to me through what he was inspired to say. It was not a coincidence. So it's changing seasons, okay? I'm not restored yet. These prophecy channels, they lie. They say, oh, it's restoration season. Not yet. I'm not restored, and more bad things keep happening, and more things that keep starting up. And yes, I do ask to be used, but I said I want to be restored while I do the missions. Why do I have to do the missions? And why do I have to do the missions like first? Well, you know what I mean. I will, of course I will, but I said I want my situation to be a little better, so I can do my missions even more effectively. Maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't go if I was restored. I don't know. Like, I guess I had to be broke and stuff to go to the soup kitchen. Actually, I didn't realize at first this was a mission until I showed up, and then I realized this was all a planned mission. And the soup kitchen narcissist has not showed his face now. He did try to go on a date with me. Now, remember, guys, these narcissists are not romantically interested in you. They want to destroy you, okay? So when I say this, and they send people to try to tie me down, this is to delay me and to destroy me. It's not because they actually like me. Even though a couple might, most probably don't. This is a mission from the kingdom of darkness. Oh my gosh, sorry. So yeah, I blow my nose in there. I don't want to. Okay, yeah, I blew my nose on Deuteronomy 31:6. Oh, and he also mentioned during this that Ford just donated $3,000 to the soup kitchen. And then another thing to note is yesterday, I don't know if I did, where they had pizza with pepperoni for lunch, that I couldn't eat any of it. Well, the soup kitchen had cheese pizza for dinner. Or they have several kinds. Then the woman there got the cheese slices together for me. And then I even went up and got another plate, and I got some to take home. So and yeah, it was kind of cold, and it was probably sitting out for a while. But anyways, it was good. And I got more pizza than I would have had for lunch. So it's like they had pepperoni pizza, like, so I wouldn't be able to eat, and this was my lunch. And so for dinner at the soup kitchen, they had cheese pizza, and I got extra. And I got some to take with me. You see what God did? And actually was like a little sad at first, but like not that much, if it makes sense. I was a little disappointed, like, oh, because when I was in the parking lot and I heard we had pizza, I'm like, it's gonna be pepperoni, and I won't be able to eat. Of course, there's a little letdown, but it wasn't that much. There's a little bit, and then I did get some Mountain Dew out of a 2-liter, but it's not as good out of a 2-liter. It's better when it's in a can or a bottle. I don't know, it gets kind of flat or something in a 2-liter, and it just doesn't taste quite the same. Okay, anyways, what am I talking about here? So, another man was probably trying to date me, but he also just such a nice compliment that was true. Like, yeah, there's a bug in here, get out of here. And I'm not going to date anyone. No matter who tries, I'm not going to. Let's see. Oh, before this man came over, I sat more towards the back this time, because there's a lot of people in the front. And then at the very end was a man who seems kind of nice, keeps to himself. I don't know if he has like a developmental disorder or something. I don't know if he's autistic. I don't know. He just seems nice and doesn't bother anybody. I don't know what's going on. So, anyways, one of the volunteers, like one of the servers or people working in the kitchen, came, and this was like a taller man. He looked kind of like maybe a doctor or something, and he had gloves on. He just seemed like middle class, well put together. Okay, so here I am sitting, like I'm not at the very end. So the man I'm talking about that's nice, that might have a developmental disorder, he was at the very end, and then I was a couple seats down, like 2 or 3 seats down. So I'm pretty close to him actually. I was maybe a few feet away. And then so then one of the volunteers comes, and this is one of the people that was behind the counter on the other side in the kitchen area. And then he comes and he asks this man that's sitting near me, "Do you mind if I sit across from you?" And then yeah, he doesn't mind. And then he's asking him questions and talking to him. But at the same time, I'm thinking that he sat there so he could get a look at me. And not in this way. Not in some weird creepy way. I'm not saying like that. But you can't, if you could just come and say, oh, ask someone of the opposite gender if you can sit across from them, then it might look like you're trying to hit on them. So that's not, maybe he doesn't want to look that way. But he was talking to this man, asking him questions, and he seemed like a nice person. And this actually man does usually keep to himself too. And so, but I did think he was observing me a little bit without really looking. And then I think this other man left. And so they were there for a while. Maybe the man that he was speaking to went to get another tray or something, or to get a drink, or he was leaving. I don't really know. And then so the volunteer was still there for a second, and he didn't get up right away. And I think he was observing me without really looking, if that makes sense. And then I just looked at him. I just looked him in the eye for a couple seconds and looked away, and he looked at me. So I think he came to sit down, because something is different about me, and they don't know, they don't understand. So he maybe wanted to check me out like that, just to see, like, who is this person? It's like the narcissist. Who are you? I don't know who you are. Like the narcissist, I don't know who you are. So I'm myself. That's why you can't tell. Oh, maybe because I don't have demons. You can't tell. I don't know. Maybe there's one somewhere. They send stuff after me, so who knows. But anyways, maybe that's what, because of curiosity or something. But then while he was sitting there, this other man came to talk to me, and they do like to invite you to smoke pot. So I don't like pot. I used to be, when I was like 17, I was the biggest pot smoker. I could outsmoke anyone. And you know what I realized? I don't like to be tired and hungry. I don't like to be tired and hungry. This is the opposite of what I want. So I don't want to. There's a monitoring spirit. I forbid you from listening to me. I command you to leave my house. You are not permitted to record anything that I am saying. You are not allowed to forward anything I am saying to the kingdom of darkness. You can never tell anyone ever again, or you can go straight to hell. I don't know how to say this. Let's see. So yeah, there was, and he seemed like an intelligent person with like a better job, like probably a college degree, maybe something like a physician, something. It just seemed like that type of person that was sitting down and a little bit taller and had the gloves on. And they were polite too, like polite and intelligent sounding, and so they sat there and then I think they were trying to observe me too. While they were talking to this one person and stuff, they were probably observing me. And maybe they overheard of something that went on because of the whole sneeze situation with this guy throwing this guy who was just being rude. But at the same time, he did not like that I sneezed. He did not. But and he didn't want to get sick. I understand that, but the way he handled it was very rude. It was very rude and inappropriate, and I think more people were turned off by it than high-fived him. When he went to high-five people, it was real childish. It was like, see, I got him, or something. It was silly. And, I'm normally sneezing more than other people. I think they're using witchcraft on me. I'm going to say it's probably using witchcraft on me and stuff. Let's see. Yeah. So Ford donated $3,000. That's good. I asked him, like, apparently Panera donates some stuff. Dunkin' Donuts probably does. I don't know, because the other church, I think, had stuff from Dunkin' Donuts. And there's some pizza places that must be donating, because they often get pizza. Now, it's not fresh hot pizza, so you get it a little later, but it's still good. Um, let's see here. So, I did not go to the gym. I thought about taking a nap, but I didn't. Like, I really wanted to take a nap, but then I had to get up to turn on an alarm to take a nap, and I was afraid I would miss the soup kitchen. If I did, I did not take a nap. I ended up trying to check my emails, and then I sold something, and then of course it was missing again. So when I looked for it, then I ended up not having extra time, and then I went for dinner. And this time, like, it would seem like nice people I sat with. But it was kind of funny is I went to sit down, and then this is an overweight man. And he mentioned, like, how he's going to have to move the table when his wife comes. And I said, I don't care. I'm just kind of sit out of people's way and stuff. And he mentioned that, like, that's fine. I don't mind. And then she shows up, and actually, this is the same woman I had seen in the bathroom the day before, so this might have been a destined meeting too. Like, okay, I saw this woman in the bathroom yesterday. I don't remember seeing her at all before this. So let me say what happened in the bathroom. I ate something, my fingers were sticky. A lot of times they got like this water dispenser, and I'll just put a little on my hands and wipe them like this. But, there's a lot of people around looking, and I just thought, I'm going to go and rinse my hands in the bathroom instead. So then I go to the bathroom to rinse my hands. And then there's a woman in there. And I think this is the woman that was involved in poisoning my food, like, the first or second full day I was there. So I went there for dinner the first time, and I was fine, but I got there later, and nobody knew I was coming. So, but then the next day, I think, oh, it wasn't the next day, it was the day after that. So after the narcissist was like, I'm surprised you weren't afraid. After that, then I think he paid or bribed this woman, and she was either blocking and hiding my plate while someone else put the stuff in, or I think that's what happened. Anyways, this woman was in the bathroom, and she was on something, and she was just sitting at the sink, like, not feeling well. I don't know. I didn't smell throw up, but it looked like if somebody just vomited, but I didn't smell anything. So, but and then she was there a long time, and I'm waiting to use the sink, and then she turns on the water, and then she's like wiping her hands inside of the sink. She's on drugs, I think, or she's like going through a drawer. Or I think like when you just don't feel good, you're feeling sick or something. And then the other woman came out of the bathroom. She needed to wash her hands. And then I'm standing there, and I'm like, I just have to wash my hands. And then there's the woman that's been at the sink a long time, and now she's got the water on, and she's on drugs. So then I wait a minute, and I said, I'm just going to wash my hands and get out of here. And she's like, me too, because she just came out of the bathroom. And then this was taking a while, and I said, actually, I'm just going to go rinse them out here. I was just going to put a little water from the thing you can get your water out of on my hand and wipe it with a napkin. And said, okay, I was going to do it in the bathroom, and then this happens. The woman that came out of the bathroom was the woman I sat next to today. So I'd never seen her before. So anyways, so the man, he was in front of me in line earlier, and and actually this is interesting. So when I went to get in line for dinner, he was in front of me. And I don't know, I think he was at the church on Sunday for the free food too. But he is an obese man, but he did not seem like an evil person. He might have been a nice person. And I mean this because there are a lot of people, the spirits, like, even if they're not mean to other people, they have spirits, and then when they see certain people, those spirits like get irritated and they want to come attack, or they are paid or bribed and told to do something. So he said, I'll have to move the table. And then his wife came, which was this woman I saw in the bathroom the day before. I, like, never go in that bathroom. I use the bathroom at my house before I go, And this time I was just going to rinse my hands real quick, and I didn't. I just left. I got out of there. And then the next time I went to the soup kitchen after this was the lunch when I had to blow my nose, and he was like, "Go to do that in the bathroom." The last time I was in the bathroom, there was someone on drugs, like being sick and messing in the sink, and they weren't washing. I don't know what was going on. So, um, let's see. Okay, so and then she sat down, and they actually seemed like pretty nice. I could be wrong. God bails me, but I think they could have been good people. But and I wasn't really paying much. I wasn't really trying to pay much attention. Like there's a few seats down, but then his wife sat. And then they had a daughter, and then she sat right next to me, and so I was just kind of ignoring it. But like they teased each other a little bit, then said shut up a little bit, but it wasn't mean. They like said shut up. I'm not really listening. And then the daughter had a phone. I'm not. I'm like not looking at it, but you can in your peripheral notice she had a phone, and so like they teased each other a bit, and then. And then she ended up using the phone a lot, and then they were quiet after that. But then the food was so good. They had amazing food. It must have had to do with this Ford donation because they're saying just in time they had this donation. Because, like, we had a bunch of snack food and pop that we didn't have in a long time. Like, actually, they never had pop. And then they had, like, a bunch of unhealthy stuff. And normally it's, like, healthy. And so I think these were things they had in reserve. So if the fresh food runs out, so they just got this donation from Ford, and then the food was great. The food was great. And I did like the food before. I like to have that Diet Mountain Dew. But I think they were saving these for if they ran out of healthy stuff. I think so. And then, so they had like a pot roast or something. It was beef. It was so good. And then they got like the bits with fat on them. And they had oh my gosh, I can't even remember. Well, there was a bun and a big iced cookie, and oh, there was like a fruit medley, like a canned fruit, or it's got the pineapples and the cherries and things in it. It was really good. Oh my gosh, what did we have? Oh, and it was macaroni and cheese, but it wasn't the cheap kind. It was like the homemade kind, and it was savory. And I put a little salt on it, and it was really delicious. It wasn't quite Stouffer's, but it was really good. Um, and then this food was good. Then they did not call seconds this day. They normally do. This day they did not call seconds. And there's a lot of people hanging around when they normally leave. Probably because the food was so good, they were hoping they would call seconds. And then after and then it's like after 5, and they close at 5:30. And then people are hanging around to see if they'll call seconds because the food is really delicious. And then eventually, so then the obese man does get, and I'm not saying this to be mean, because it is more important the way you treat others than how heavy you are. I'm saying, but for your own health, you do want to. But anyways, so this is probably part of it. Is that I overheard him mention if they call seconds, you can go back up and get more. Or are you gonna go get another one? And you get some fruit and a cookie or something. He mentioned just. I'm not trying to pay attention. It's just certain things I heard. And because I was hoping they were going to call seconds. This food was really good. I wanted another cookie. And I wanted more fruit. And that meat, like, oh my gosh, this was like holiday type meat. Like, stuff I hadn't had in a long time. And we're waiting. And I could have left, but I'm like, are they going to call seconds? And then I saw someone walk up and then kind of said something. I'm like, oh, they're not going to do it today. But then the obese man does get up and he gets 2 trays and he walks up there and then he asks them, and even though they weren't going to, then he gets some more food and he comes back and I'm like, oh, they gave you another one? And like, and then another man was up there. Another man went up and he got a few things, and then I'm like, well, you got some, and then I went up and I got a second tray. This time the meat was gone, but they had made a lasagna and mashed potatoes, and then there was a little bit of fruit left, and they had the iced cookie I got the first time. Those were gone, but they had regular chocolate chips. So I got a second dinner. The dinner wasn't huge. The dinner was like bigger than a lean cuisine, but it wasn't as big as I could eat. But 2 dinners was too big. 1 dinner was too small. Anyways, but because I didn't eat as much for lunch as normal because I just wasn't really hungry. But anyways, I normally eat more for lunch. Um, excuse me. So So I almost, even though I was stuffed, I tried to eat all of it, but then I ended up saving a little bit of potatoes just because, like, I really wanted to just take that with me and not eat it right then because I had enough. And so then I walk up and I got a little styrofoam cup and I put it in there, and then someone walks past and I asked for some foil. I do notice that this woman, who is called Mama Cat, who is so sweet, very compassionate person, she was under a spell. I noticed this. She was under a spell. And I'm wondering, was it the man? I'm wondering. I think I know who did it, but I could be wrong. But she was under a spell. I could see it. God, it's not that I'm magical. God shows us what we're allowed to see. God veils us when we need to go through something and not know, and then God shows us when we're allowed to know what happened and learn something from it, or to stop. So, anyways, God showed me something. Like, I noticed she was under some type of mind control spell, and she just wasn't being as nice, and it was more like robotic, if that makes sense. So also, um, it was late this time, and I left closer to 5:30, and then I went out to get my bike, and then one of the volunteers who's there all the time walked past, and then he said, "Oh, hi Jennifer." And he said, "I hope that's your name." I said, "I hope that's your name," or something like that. 'Cause I'm not good with names. And he was real nice. He was like, "Oh, hi, Jennifer." Because now that I'm going to the Bible study, we're best friends now. Apparently, I'm like, "Oh, hi," and I was nice too. But I believe, like every other time that something like this happens, that it is a setup, and they're gonna try to get me. They're gonna try to get me. Now, maybe it won't happen, and maybe maybe God will use this for good. I don't know. I don't know. But nobody actually wants to be my friend. And no one actually wants. I don't oh maybe there's one or two, I don't know, but I don't think so. I don't think anyone actually wants to date me. They're just sending, what, 6 or 7 suitors, because they want to destroy me. And I don't think anyone actually wants to be my friend, because no one wanted to be my friend before. So, but it's possible someone does. It's just I've never seen it before, so I'm highly suspicious. um, but that was nice. He said it like really nice, like, "Oh, hi." And yeah. So I said hi back to him, but I don't trust. I don't trust. If I had to guess, I would say he's probably a warlock, and he probably has a spell on Mama Cat, and he's probably pretending to be nice so that if I don't conform and go along with their beliefs and stuff, then he won't be my friend anymore. This is just what it probably is. But, there's a chance that I'm wrong. There's a chance that I'm wrong, and he's actually being nice. It's just that I've never seen it before, so, but I guess there's a first time for everyone. First time for everything. I mentioned a couple nights ago I was getting, like, attacked in the dream. Like, I'm going through places and doing stuff, and then I remember, like, before I woke up, like, there was an attack on my dog, and then I remember seeing, like, one of my dogs laying on its side, and it had, like, bites or wounds on its body, and it was my Sarah. And then I woke up and I was dreaming. It was like a cartoon version of her. It was like a dark bluish purple that's kind of muted, like a cartoon, but it was her, and she was laying on her side, and I don't know if she was dead. She was probably still alive, but she had wounds all over her body. And this was the type of dream they gave me as I was waking up. But God is protecting my dogs. I already pray over my dogs. You can't touch my dogs. You can't hurt my dogs. They are highly protected, and they are also a part of my life plan. So no one is allowed to harm them. I forbid it. They were allowed to damage my house. They were allowed to damage my car. They're allowed to do stuff to me. My dogs are protected. They are not allowed to harm my dogs. Yeah, there is. See if I can get this. Excuse me. Okay, so I just wanted to make a short video And here is this video, and it is almost an hour long. Wow, that is nuts. And it's probably incoherent babble again. I don't like how bright it is when I open my text editor because it's bright white. Um, I don't like that on my screen. And I changed it to dark night colors so that when I go to sleep, it's not like shiny and bothering me. So I really don't like how it illuminates to my face, and I don't like how bright it is when I look at it. So, but it is what it is. It is the 17th, and there's just more attacks, more, I'm going to say disappointment. The food at the soup kitchen was good. Actually, and something else I just remembered. You know, as I was done eating, and I was kind of hanging out like around the area where the drinks and napkins are, and I think I needed to wipe my hand a little more. It was still kind of sticky. And then the older man who's a veteran, um, and he walked by, and I think God is making me much more courageous. You know, I think this is like a training. So no matter what type of person I see, I am not intimidated. I'm not weirded out. I'm not going to act strange. Like a lot of people, a lot of Christians, they see an addict or they see somebody that looks kind of shifty, they're uncomfortable. Not me. Now I'm perfectly comfortable with that because everyone here is not everyone, almost everyone is like. So I think maybe God has strengthened me in that way, so I can approach anyone. But anyways, this man who's older and said he was a veteran, well, I found out something he told me was a lie. But anyways, then he was there with these children a lot of the time, and he said they're not mine; they're my daughter's kids, you know. And while they're at work, I watch them. While she's at work, I watch her kids. They're my daughter's kids, okay. And then they're like older teenagers, so maybe like 17 or 16 or 17. You know, they're bigger than me probably, but you know, not that much, but still, you know, they're not little kids. And he's watching them. He says they're not my kids. Anyways, he walks by me and he's like, how you doing, or how's it going, or he says something, or he just said like hello, or I don't know. He didn't say hello. I don't know what he said. He just said something normal, and it wasn't overly polite, and it wasn't rude. He just said something normal. And then, you know, I just made a little small talk back, you know, and how's your family doing? And he's like, oh, those aren't my kids. Those aren't my kids. And I said, but they're my he said, those aren't my kids. I said, oh, your grandkids. They're your grandkids. And he's like, my daughter's kids. So anyways, I don't think they're really his grandkids now. And I saw one of them had a little shifty look in his eyes, so they could possibly be enemies of mine. I don't even know, because everyone is an enemy to me, I guess. But then, like, some of them might come around. Like, when they try to get me and they fail, then they kind of don't, they kind of like me, so it's weird. But anyways, but then I saw him, and he said something to me, and I said, yeah, and how are you doing, and how's your family? And he's like, those aren't my kids. Is this something a grandparent normally says? Those aren't my, they're not my family. No, he didn't say those aren't my kids. He said, they aren't my family. He said, they aren't my family. I said, well, your grandkids. And he said, my daughter's kids. So he might have just outed himself as those aren't his grandkids. because I said, well, how's your family doing? Normally when you say, how's your family doing, and you got 2 teenage grandchildren there, then you could say, oh, they're doing well. But he said, they're not my family. That's what it was. So they looked a little no, not the girl. I only noticed the boy. He was getting a take-home tray, and then I was kind of near him, and he had a little shifty look. I thought, I don't know, maybe it was for something else, and it wasn't horrible. It was just a little bit. And then him saying that, yeah, maybe they aren't his kids, and whoever, if this isn't, maybe it is his daughter's kids, or maybe it's a female that's much younger than him, and those are her kids, or maybe these are just some kids, you know, that he watches. Maybe it's a prostitute. Maybe it is his. I don't know. But you know, if these are your grandchildren, what grandparent ever has said when you ask them how's the family doing? They're not my family. So, anyways, I'll probably remember something later. You see, my dog there, she came up and clawed my back, which I didn't even really notice, because I'm just so used to it. Because she needs me to cover her up. Because look, she has knocked her blanket off, and now she can't get under the cover. So she came to ask me, Sarah, come here. Sarah. Okay, I gotta go to bed and cover her up. Thanks for watching. God bless you.